Avraham Byers, welcome to Jewish Money Matters. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Yael. Great to be here.
I'm really, really excited that I found your work. I think we connected through a mutual friend. Was it Alana Klein now I'm thinking, or Shayna
That's right.
Karen?
No,
Ilana,
Ilana.
Ilana, the best copywriter in the world. I'm
She
putting it
is.
out there. I'm putting it out there. So thank you, Ilana, for the introduction. And I'm fascinated by your work. You're a financial trainer. You got me right there, and I love that. So why don't we define that for people from the get-go? What do you mean by a financial trainer?
Okay, so that's a great question. So when I first started out in the business 15 years ago, there was not such thing as a financial coach. It didn't exist.
Uh-huh.
Um, it had to make something up in order for people to relate to it. So I started explaining myself like I'm like a personal fitness trainer, but for your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a concept I had to get out because really there was like financial advisors, financial planners, but the financial coach they never really kicked in yet. So when I
Mm-hmm.
first started off, I called myself a personal financial trainer. Just like
Mm-hmm.
you have to get in shape with your body, you have to get in shape with your finances.
And
Uh,
and by the way, you should know, like I know from personal experience from when I was younger, like working with a trainer, and we're talking about like a personal trainer for fitness, like you'll never be in better shape than when you do that. Don't kid yourself. You cannot do it on your own. Not on the
yeah,
same
it's
level.
yeah, I think there's some people that could take matters in their own hands to get in shape, go to the gym, but even those people that need a little bit edge to get them to the next level. There's nothing like a trainer to work alongside you to know the exercises, know you, give you a little more accountability, get things
Accountability,
done, and
push
showing
you.
up, push you a little more where you can be pushed. Know
Uh-huh.
where to like pull out, put on the brakes a little bit as well.
Hmm. So you mentioned advisory, and what's interesting is that you came from that world. You were a financial advisor. That means you helped people invest their money, manage their portfolios. Did you work for a bank, for an insurance company? Who'd you work for? Like, what was your?
So it starts in 1995. I worked for a company that was actually independent. This was the year. These were years of like financial advisors were eating up the bank's business. We're going around doing workshops and just like stealing clients from banks because they weren't getting like attention really. And so we
Oh.
created financial plans for them. And yeah, I was in charge of making financial plans, in charge of doing workshops, in charge of portfolios. I did that for many, many years.
So you were working with high net worth individuals. That was your target client?
Yeah, I think that's almost every financial advisor's target
Right,
client.
right, right. And yet you had this deep, dark secret. What was your financial situation during those years?
It was a hot mess. It
Okay,
was, it was,
describe.
it was, yeah. So like I had credit card debt. I was just really struggling. I was making money, but it just weren't, ends weren't meeting. I had a lot of history around money. Maybe some money trauma possibly when I was younger from my parents were involved in a business that almost failed multiple times. I
Hmm.
never thought maybe I could hold on to money. So maybe my subconscious, I was spending money because like, oh, I'll spend it before I lose it. So there's a lot of money story history there within myself. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I was making good money and I was spending good money as well, even more than I was making.
Hmm. And
So there I was. Yeah, go ahead.
that seems to be a pattern for so many of us. So there you are. This is the pattern. Are you married at this point?
No, I wasn't even Jewish. I went to like a Catholic school.
Okay.
So I was like a Catholic boy. Well, sort
Okay.
of, but not
Okay.
exactly.
Right. No, right. I get it. So you're now a young professional. You're not Jewish yet. You're in this hot financial mess, and you're starting to realize that this is not going the right direction. Was there a wake
Not
up call?
not at all. It was actually going the wrong direction. I actually had at that point, this can sound like really extreme. Most people can't relate to this, but I had a phone number that was just for people like my credit card companies to call me because basically what happened is they would call and I pulled the plug out of the phone. I had one phone number dedicated for people that are just like calling me for collect money, and
Oh,
I didn't even pick up the phone, never. Like I just pulled it
oh,
out, plug it, and done.
so now I can see how it's a really a deep, dark secret because this is going on in your personal life to that extreme. And meanwhile, you're teaching people who have a lot of money how to get their money in shape and organized and multiply and grow.
Yeah, exactly. So, they don't teach you stuff in financial advisor schools, but how to like budget and deal with your money trauma from when you're a kid or early adult. But basically what I'm trying to say, at the end of the day, what happened is that I got one message back then. And I actually picked up my messages one day, had the guts. I'm like, I'm gonna go through these messages, and I picked up the phone and I called the number and checked my voicemail. And there's one message there that sort of stuck me, and it was somebody just said, he said he's so frustrated. This guy trying to collect money from me. He's like, "Mr. Byers, you have to buy yourself some responsibility." And
Wow.
I was like, he's right. Like I'm totally not responsible with money at all.
Mm-hmm.
More spender
Uh-huh.
than saver, always looking for the next shiny object thing. And back then it's probably simple things, it wasn't anything major. I was young. When I got into the industry, I was 17 years old. I
Oh, you
graduated
were a
high school.
kid.
I was a kid. But that was going on in my 20s also, early 20s, the same habit forming. It keeps on going, the cycle doesn't end.
So you have this realization, and what's you start consuming the books, right? There's no podcast then. You start reading, and so you say I was reading through your website, of course, and you say action is the main thing. And people have to take action, and we'll get to money stories in a second because you just mentioned it. It's an important point too. But yes, action is always ultimately the main thing. What do those actions look for you? Short of also, of course, reading the material and now gaining the knowledge, then what were the steps that you took?
Well, back then, I really had a blessing because what happened is I think the bank gave up on me completely and they wrote
Mm,
off my debt. Like they wrote
mm,
out the whole thing. It wasn't major. It was like back then it's like, I don't know, 10,000, $12,000. Like it wasn't like a huge amount. It was a lot. Like, but for me back then it wasn't major. And
mm-hmm,
so what happened was they just like wrote it off and my credit score took a plummet, right? Totally got plummeted. And I said, you know what? I have to really start picking up my socks here and I have to really have a fresh start now. I have to really just do things. I have to, get the credit card, the secured credit card, and then start paying those off on time. But I said, at this point on, I'm gonna be responsible with money. That was
mm-hmm,
sort of what happened to me back then.
mm-hmm.
And I just started paying things off. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I changed. I did change. I became more comfortable who I am. But the Jewish thing really ties in to this whole my Jewish like journey ties
Yeah.
in really
So
well over here.
so tell us. So at that point, that's also kind of ties in with you exploring Judaism and becoming committed to that.
Yeah. So basically, just to give you some background information, when I was 5 years old, I was sitting in Catholic school, and the teacher said, there's Israelites, maybe even six, but there's Israelites. There's like these Jewish people that were out there, and talked about going through the desert, through the Midbar, and going, all this, the whole story. And I put my hand up as little English name was Craig Byers, so little Craig Byers puts up his hand. It says, yeah, we have a question. I said, yeah. I said, who are these Israelites like, and are they still around? And the teacher said, "Yeah, they are. They are still around, and they're part of the Jewish people. And they pray 3 times a day towards the east.
Oh,
That's
she
all I
knew that
knew.
much? That's
She knew
cute.
that much. And I asked a question at the time. I said, then how is it possible we call it our Bible if they're still alive?
Ah, smart kid. Yiddish cup right there.
So, so basically, that question was in my head for many, many, many years. And in fact, that night I came home to my mother, and after school, and I said, oh, she told me actually they pray towards the east. They said they pray 3 times a day and towards the east. So I came home. I said, Mom, I said, which way is east? She said, why do you want to know that for? I said, because I want to pray towards the east. She said, why do you want to pray towards the east? I said, because I want to become Jewish. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, it doesn't add up, right? Like, send my kid to Catholic school. He wants to become Jewish at age
Whoa.
like 6, maybe. Like, what's that all about, right?
Whoa.
So at the end of the day, basically, I had this yearning, and I remember that day, that afternoon, my mom told me the sun rises in the east, so that's all I knew. So I remember that after I came, I went home and I went into my bedroom, and my mom told me, and I grabbed. I felt like I had to have something between my on my head forehead. I was like, I have to have something. I didn't know what it was. I could do the only thing I had that was a religious value to me at that point was my rosary. So I
Oh,
grabbed my rosary and I stuck it on my forehead over here, and I prayed to wherever the sun was at that point, which is probably in the afternoon, not
okay.
not
This
east.
is wild.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
what I did basically, and I had this yearning to become Jewish from that point on.
So you grow up, did you meet other Jewish kids in university? Like what
No.
happens? I mean, this is at 6 years old. How did we get to the young adult who's having financial issues and reconnects with this Jewish journey,
So so
yearning?
So basically, I had absolutely no Jewish people. I went to a high school of 3,000 people. There wasn't one Jewish person I knew. In fact, there's two people in my life that were Jewish. I didn't even know they're Jewish. One was my doctor, Dr. Weinberg, and the second one was my parents' lawyer, the Shermans. I didn't even
Uh-huh.
know they're Jewish. I didn't know that Weinberg and Sherman was a Jewish name. I had no clue. I had no idea, but I knew I wanted to become Jewish, and I had this yearning inside myself, and I didn't feel complete. I
Mm-hmm.
felt empty.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
Okay. So how does it
And
tie to the financial journey? It's happening at the so then you're a young adult. How do you look for Judaism while you're also fixing your finances?
so so the bottom line is that when you feel empty, you try to fill it up.
Mm.
Doesn't matter what it is, you feel
Mm-hmm.
empty, you feel like you have to fill it up with something. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just filled up with stuff. Really, I needed a spiritual journey in my own life. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying this for everybody,
Okay.
this is my Jewish journey, right?
Right.
But basically, we don't go around trying to convert people. That's not what we do. But
Right.
for myself, basically, I just had this deep yearning inside myself that I wasn't complete, that I wanted to be something that I wasn't, because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was something different. And eventually, um, through a whole series of deaths in my family, I went to 18 funerals from the time I was probably around 12 to around 20, 21, 22. I started to really think about, like, what am I here for? What I want to do with my life, and who do I want to connect with? And it
Mm-hmm.
came down to ultimately is I have to have a deep connection with Hashem, Yisbarach.
Mm-hmm.
That was my final outcome from it all. And I decided I'm going to start becoming Jewish. And so I did a whole journey. I mean, not the whole journey, but I went to conservative shul first because I read some stuff. The ES guide turns saying Judaism. It says that, Rabbi Blech wrote it, by the way, but he said, like, it's three movements: there's Reform, Conservative, Orthodox. So I said, well, the Rambam says take the middle path, right? So I decided to go take the Rambam's path. So I went to the conservative route, and it made sense to me. But after a year and a half of going through the whole process over there, they say, you need an Orthodox conversion because we see that we are going. You're starting to keep Shabbos, and you start these things and kosher, and you're gonna be, marry somebody who's like serious, and they're not going to accept our conversion. So I said, okay, fine. So I started off again with Orthodox conversion, and did another year and a half. So it was over 3.5 years at the end, and finally, Baruch Hashem, went to the mikvah. But I did see a huge difference once I was spiritually filled up. There was a massive difference of how I handle my finances.
Interesting. 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 Um, I could see that. I could see that how very often financial habits, there's just habits and things we've just learned from what we saw our parents do or whatever. But there's some very often there's just either something is missing. Either you're unhappy with your career, with your marriage, with your relationships, with yourself, and you're just trying to fill it up with stuff. And it could be, again, like you mentioned the word financial trauma. A lot comes in, and there's just this spiritual work that needs to be done. Again, we're not saying it's Judaism necessarily for anybody, but there is like inner work that needs to be done. That's a better work. And we could cover up with like all the habits and systems in the world, but if the inner work is not there, then the systems are not going to work for anyone. So it's like a combination of the mindset and the management. And you say in your work, you say that everyone can become smart with money. So if we assume that there's a mindset piece and a management piece, how do you work with people to bridge those two things? Because the management piece can be almost easy. It's like we all can learn what to do, but it's changing the inner script. It's filling the spiritual voids. It's all those things take a long time.
Yeah, it could. It's not a quick fix,
Hmm.
When I work people through money, we don't even hit numbers until probably month 4, month 5
Oh,
of our
wow.
work together, right? So we're
Hmm.
doing the deep work before, because once you see the numbers, then everything becomes about the numbers.
Right.
You start to worry, you start to panic. Oh, the numbers are off. How am I going to be able to, it doesn't make sense, the numbers. What can I cut? Well, you can't start cutting things if you haven't done inner work yet. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, if somebody's coming off of the idea that, like for example, myself, the idea that I can't be successful, I'm going to lose the money somehow. That was sort of my money story, right? Well, it doesn't matter, how much I show you spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
That part is sort of like the end part, the end
Mm-hmm.
goal of it all. But you have to so much like just like talk about something simple that maybe all your listeners can do right now. It doesn't take a lot of time, is to do a money timeline for yourself, right? And it's sort of, I'll give you a quick exercise, really easy to do, is just put everything in 10-year chunks, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, how old you are, right? Put a little black dot in the timeline of how old are you, 40 or 50 or 30, put a little, and then just sort of go through and say like, what are the phases of these years? Like, what happened, what experiences? Put all positive things on the top, all negative things on the bottom, and just go along and and you'll start seeing patterns that you'll just blow your mind. You're like, wow, I'm still following those same patterns.
That's such an interesting exercise. It's
It
so
takes
interesting. And you might
10,
even
20
see that,
minutes.
you might even see the patterns that you saw from your parents also as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. A lot of things you'll see, yeah, even sometimes I work through clients and it's really very little of them in the timeline. It's all about what happened to them. That's also a story.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. So you said we don't start looking at the numbers till month 4. Month 1 and 3, then I presume is a lot of this exploration, the timeline. Does it also involve looking at people's values? I know I've had many conversations on the show about how important it is to first get very clear about what your values are, because ultimately, before we even look at the numbers, because ultimately we want to make sure that we're financing those values. And most of us go through life not doing that, just mindlessly, just financing whatever, but not necessarily what we think is of the essence. So where does the value piece come in the work?
Yeah, values are super important. Although I want to give a caveat, is that sometimes people break values down of what they think they should be versus what they
Ah,
are,
aha. Tell us.
right? So there's a difference between values and aspirations. They're different
Mm-hmm.
things, right? An aspiration is something you want to become, right? Something
Uh-huh.
that you aren't yet, right? A value is who you are right now in the epitome of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those values, things you've had since your childhood, and that timeline will definitely help you discover a lot of those values. Is you'll start
Mm-hmm.
seeing the events of your life, and you'll start saying, "Wow, these are values I have inside myself." Aspirations are beautiful if they're built on top of values, right? So, for example, let's bring it down to the real world. Let's say somebody has a value of being, I don't know, y'all help me out here. Give me a value. I went blank for a second.
A value of freedom, let's say freedom.
Freedom, beautiful. So, value of freedom, right? An aspiration to have a tight budget might not get you there.
Mm.
You have to be super tight. But having an aspiration of going on,
Travel.
to travel to, I don't know, to Hawaii or Bali or to wherever you're going to go to, might be something that you might want to look at as building as an aspiration.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So aspiration is more of a goal.
It's more of a goal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's more of
mm-hmm.
a goal, but sometimes it get mixed up.
Right.
You
Very
know,
often they get mixed up, for sure. 100%.
yeah, values and
100%.
aspirations are all, a lot of time mixed up. They're not clear a lot of times. People not clear what their values are, their aspirations are, and how they're
Right.
different.
And I think it's important also for people to know that, see, we mentioned freedom. So let's use the example of freedom. Freedom is a value that expresses itself in aspirations differently for different people. For some people, the value of freedom might be expressed in a goal or aspiration to travel. For other people, it might be to live by the water. For other people, it might be to be able to exercise every day. That means freedom to them. If you know what I mean. So we have to know for ourselves what that means. It doesn't mean the same thing for other people. I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean the same as it means for other people. Sorry.
Right, because a value, people that can share the exact same value, but their aspirations are totally different than each other. They aspire to be different. It
Mm-hmm.
sort of goes down to like the Arbeidseides work that a lot of people do, right? The Aish, Mayim, Af, and Ruach, right? Those four Arbeidseides of fire, earth, wind, and water, right? You could have two people that are very watery, and water is about connection and being connected to other people. but at the same time, their way of connecting is completely different.
Right, right. You mentioned the word budget, the word everybody's so scared of, and you say there's a difference between being on a budget and having a budget. What's the difference?
Well, I think that just to talk about value-based budgeting for a
Mm-hmm.
second, I think that's what I was talking about over there. But the idea is that if it's not going according to your values, then it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not clear of who you are and what's going to be triggering you or sort of cycles you're trying to stop, that's also not going to work either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a system I wrote. It's called Your Magic Number. I wrote it many, many years ago in 2016. At the time, it was kind of novel. I think it's not as novel as it was before. But the book basically comes and tells you a different thing, not to sort of corner yourself with a budget and be super strict with like, I'm going to spend this amount on my entertainment, this amount dining out, this amount, and start going through your list. Instead, the concept of the book was, which I think you're referring to probably, is the idea is that you just have to know your daily number. What's the amount I could spend per day? And then I'll just spend how I want to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of the idea of like taking off the chains from the idea of budgeting and having
Mm-hmm.
a tool that is there to just sort of say, what's my number? What can I spend? Because this
Mm-hmm.
sort of came from my clients telling me like, Avraham, just tell me what I could spend and I'll spend it. That's what everybody told me that. Tell me what I could spend and I'll spend it. I was like, okay, fine. So I create a whole system, and the system's really simple. It gives you a daily number you can spend every single day. If you don't spend the money today, you save it for tomorrow. You can build up things, but I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. How you
Mm-hmm.
decide, you have to have guilt-free spending. You spend what you want. You want to buy a shirt, buy yourself a shirt. You want to buy yourself a blouse, you want to buy yourself a dress. Whatever you want to do, you buy yourself. You want to buy
Mm-hmm.
yourself whatever. It doesn't make a difference. You want to go out and eat dinner with your husband or your wife or your kids. I'd rather actually just go with my wife, tell you the truth, but that's a separate issue. But the bottom line is that just figure out what you want and spend it according to your values.
So this reminds me, I kind of teach something very similar, which is it's a bit of a twist on the words like fixed and variable expenses, right? Like there's and I think that's what you're suggesting, that there's certain things that are fixed, meaning they're not fixed in number, like your electricity varies or your water usage varies, but they need to get paid, right? Your mortgage needs to get paid, right? They're fixed because like you have to do it. And then there's after those things, then you're saying there's freedom. This is how much you have left over to spend. Now let's spend it in what in your values. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to spend it in, right? Is that what we're referring to?
Yeah, exactly. So the mathematics are pretty simple. It's easy as one, two, three. You have your income that you have. Let's take yearly numbers, right? You have your yearly number, let's just say whatever it is. It's 200,000, 300,000, whatever the number is, doesn't make a difference, a year, right? And you subtract off that all of those quote unquote fixed expenses. Now, fixed means like bills, like your mortgage, your insurances, the electricity, all
The
those
things that
things that
need
come
to
through.
happen, not
They
your
have to
wants.
get
They just
paid. Like
have to
this,
get
they
paid.
have to get paid, right? Like all those things. You subtract that, from your income, whatever you take home after taxes, right? Obviously, and you're left with a certain amount of money. I feel like a funnel, right? Income's the cash in the top, right? And then it gets pushed down into what drips out the bottom is after all those expenses that you have that have to get paid, the mortgage and all those things that have to get paid, and then what drips down is what you can spend on
Hmm.
yourself, and you decide where you want to spend it. Divide that by 365, so you get a daily number, and you go with it. And that's it. It's a
Yeah.
simple.
And you have a
Yeah,
budget. You're not on a budget, but you have a budget.
you have a budget. Yeah, I always have an analogy of like, imagine I flew, to your house every day, yeah, and I said, oh, here's $150. Do what you want with it, right? And you can choose what you want. If you want to save it, you want to spend it, what do you want to do? And the next day, every day, Aubrey's going to fly from Toronto over to you and drop off $150 every day to you, and you decide what you want to spend it on. That's basically what it is, in its
Hmm.
simplicity. It's very, very
Hmm.
easy, but it's
Yeah.
also an external. I love the book and I love this system, but it's an external system still. If that inner work hasn't been done, it's not going to serve you properly.
Yeah, because I was gonna say you could either you just mentioned you could save it or you can spend it. For many of us, if we're given that freedom, right? If we weren't trained to be savers and we were more of instant gratification people, or again going back to we have a void that we're just filling with stuff or experiences or whatever it might be, we might take that number and we might just burn it in things that we say we value, but then maybe it's at the expense of maybe we do value our children's, weddings, education. I'm not sure. I mean, that's not a value, but let's say it's shalom bayit or whatever, whatever. So how do we merge those things? Because we do want people to make long-term savvy financial decisions and say yes to their to themselves 10, 15 years, 30 years down the line. How do we encourage that?
The saving aspect, like to
Hmm.
go according to your values. So in a mathematical form, it's easy. It's simple. It's just take it off the top, right? That's simple. Just take it off the top and plop it in as an expense, and you
Hmm.
don't even touch it. But that
Hmm.
doesn't work.
Ah,
It
tell us.
doesn't work. The math doesn't work, and Baruch Hashem, there come with so many amazing books now that are just past that, like save 20% of your income, which used to be 20, now it's 10 and 20, and it's gonna be 30. I don't know if it's gonna be, but the bottom line is those things don't work so well. Those external mechanics. The main thing is you have to really, really just dig down into those values of who you are and what's important to you. But at the same time, the most important thing we could do with our finances after do all the emotional labor, all of the value searching, you see all the patterns, you're going to find out one thing. The big aha is that who's running the show here with your finances? And I'm talking like in the context of the human. Obviously, Hashem's running everything, but I'm saying, but in terms of the human person, you'll find out pretty quickly it's your emotions that are running everything.
Uh,
When really, that's not where you want to be. You want to acknowledge your emotions around money. And a lot of coaching these days is all about, I've done coaching for many years. A lot of coaching the coaching train I had, it stays in the emotional space.
mm-hmm.
It stays in that space of emotion and it works with emotions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another way that's higher, which is to use your DOS.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making money decisions based on DOS, not on emotions, using you're able to think it through and make decisions through the process of thought and take your emotions into check and understand where that's coming in. But at the same time, to use your DOS to overcome and to think of what the right decision to do is here,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you've made it. Because until then, the emotions are running the whole show. I'm telling you something that probably nobody else told you before.
No, no, no. I completely agree with you, but I want to bring that into the last example you gave me because you said the best thing is to take it off the top and in fact automate it, right? Just like you maybe automatically take off 10% for your MISR, just automate 10% and throw it to the investment account or the savings account, whatever you want to do, right? But you said that ultimately doesn't work. So as you're explaining about the DAS, I'm thinking, but if I have the system that it helps me keep my DAS in check, right? Or my emotions in check, I should say, then that can help me. That aligns me with my DAS.
Right? It seems like a stira, seems like a contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
So people always want to start the numbers. All my clients want to start the numbers.
I know.
I used to start with the numbers. I used to start with the numbers. And of
No.
all my clients, after all my years, two clients that I had were able to make definite decisions from the numbers, and they didn't need me anymore. It was an amazing thing. And everybody thinks of these two people, by the way, right? But the one had to make a situation. They were in Canada, and they looked at the numbers, and it being very clear to them that they're American. They came here to do some work. It be very clear, very right off the bat that I'm paying too much in taxes over here. Life in Toronto is too expensive. I have to go to a state where the taxes are lower, and I have to get a job over there. And life house and the houses are gonna be cheaper over there. Everything's gonna be cheaper over there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in a position of they ran I can't say exactly what they're doing, but they ran a very large organization here. And so 2 weeks later, he's like, we're packing the boxes. We see the problem, and he made decisions all day. Like that was his job, is make big
Right.
decisions, right? And I had two clients like that literally they saw the spreadsheet, saw the numbers, they made the logical decision, and they ripped out all the emotions out of it, the whole thing, and they just moved. Now, the wife
Most of
was
us
was
are not like that.
no, most of us are not like that, and we think we could be like that. We think, but it requires training and understanding. And first, you have to understand how your emotions are really running. That's
Mm-hmm.
the big trick. The big aha is like, wow, hold on a second here. Who is running the show?
Mm-hmm.
Is it my DOS or is it my emotions? And when you start to realize who's really running the show, you see the cycles and it keeps on repeating over and over again. You can and everybody also the second thing everybody goes is I have to make more money. I need more money.
Right. That was going to be my
Once
next question.
once I make more money, that's the DOS says. Once I make more money, then I'll be okay.
Right.
That's not your
Also, the
DOS.
numbers might say, what happens when the numbers might say, look, you have to make more money. The numbers are telling you have to make more money.
Right. Right. So that's true. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you do. I don't know. But the bottom line is that first off, who's in charge of making money? It's not me. It's not you. It's not them. It's nobody. Hashem Yisbarach is only in charge of making money. I can't do anything about that, honestly. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not about making more money for the people. That's what I can't do. But I'm going to tell you what I see all the time. Let's take somebody who says, I have to make more money, right? So let's look back. Let's just take a person that's making $150,000 a year now.
Uh-huh.
150, right? Go back, obviously you have to go back in age, but let's just say go back 15 years, right? How much were you making back then? Oh, I was making whatever, 60. Okay,
Okay.
were you making it then? No. If I told you back then, you'll make 150, you'll be fine. Would you say yeah? He said, yeah, for sure. I'd say yeah. So you're not making 150, are you fine? No, I'm not fine. I have
Mm-hmm.
clients that are making over $1 million a year, and it's all spent.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen it many times. I've seen it many times. But somebody will argue with us and say, no, 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 no. When I was single, I was making 60 or 80 and I was making it. Now I'm married. I have 5 kids. I have tuition, 150. Look at my expenses. We live very frugally. Look at everything. Like, where else can we cut? Right? There's people who really are doing everything, quote unquote, right.
Right. Absolutely. And they're trying their best to do it. And there is a minimum income level,
Hmm.
right, to survive. Let's just talk even in general sense of the general populace of America, right? There is a general number that if you're making on this number and you take the state you're living in, right, that it is not enough.
Hmm.
That's
And
the
so when
truth.
when you come across those cases, then what's the verdict? Yes, you're doing everything right. You can't trim this anymore. Go figure out some ways to bring more income and then call me. I'll help you then. Is that the
So so
verdict?
so yeah, so most of my clients are not in that situation. Most of my clients are the income's not the issue. But in the past, it was an issue for me. But there's one thing we have to understand when you get into sin of not making enough money, that's what's sent to you. It doesn't matter what sin you have in your life. It can be any challenge you have, right? The first thing you have to go to, and this is not going to give you the advice you're looking for, yeah, but it's because it's the truth.
This is why you're here.
So the truth is that you have to find the simcha inside that.
Hmm.
Because if you can't find the simcha inside that, it's impossible. You have to be able to find, you know, the point where Hashem Yisbarach gave you this nisayon, whatever it is.
Hmm.
It could be anything, right? We all have. You have it, I have, we all have it. Issues, right?
100%,
Right?
100%. I've said it many times, and the temptation is usually to point fingers outward, and really it's inward. It's like Hashem is putting you in this challenge because you need to dig deep and find something in yourself. What is in yourself that is not working, that is putting you in that situation? But that's a harder work.
It's the long tail. It's the work but it's the work that's really worth it. For
Hmm.
for people that are more into panemius tzedakah life, it's the
Hmm.
option that's available for them easier. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody's built like that. Not everybody's built in that way of going panemi.
Hmm.
It's harder for some people, and I get it. I have an easier time with it, but a lot of people it's very difficult for.
Hmm. Hmm. And maybe at that point, I wonder if at that point, I I wonder whether at that point, bitachon is part of the answer more than the budget. Bitachon over budget.
Yeah, well, bitachon comes from the first time it's comes from lashon betach, which means
Mhm.
confidence, right?
Right.
So the more the confidence, it doesn't mean confidence, but atzmi, although that is a thing, but it means the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's the answer, is that you have to be confident
Mhm.
And the confidence when it comes down to saying is that this is the best thing for me right now. This is where I have to be.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Because let's talk about anger, financial anger,
Mhm.
which is spurred on, is a lot of times anger is very simple. Anger is just you have a rut sign for something, it's not coming to fruition. That's what anger is. Anger in the simplest form is that I wanted, I have a rut sign for something and it gets thwarted or something happens, I can't do it, whatever it might be. I want to get supper on the table and the kids are pulling my skirt and they're like, Mommy, I want this, whatever it is. I want to make supper,
Mhm.
simple as that. Or I want to achieve something in my life. I want to become the president of my company, or I want to become whatever you want to become in life. You have a rut sign that
Mhm.
is very, very deep inside your neshama, very, very deep point of yourself. That's pushing you to a certain degree somewhere that you want to get to something, do something, and something's thwarting that, and that causes anger. And
Mhm.
finances are a great way because we're all trying to match up now to the magazines, unfortunately. And even in our circles, it's a hard thing to imagine. But, the saddest pill, everybody takes sad pills these days. What is it? Let's just say a person is driving by a billboard and they see a billboard, and on the billboard, there is an amazing picture of in Miami, and it's like overlooking, it's like the ocean and it's like a beautiful continent. You can see the waves rolling in, and you're like, oh, and you start imagining, you start to think like, wow, like I can see myself sitting there on Shabbos afternoon, with my whatever, or you fill it with Shpacha magazine or my Sefer or whatever you want to fill it in with, right? And you start to imagine it. And that koyach you start to create a rut sign for
Mhm.
that, and that rut sign, if it's not fulfilled, is like it's sad, makes you sad, and so we all go out of this world with a graveyard of rut signness that we never fulfilled.
Mhm.
So to
Right.
guard your rut sign, to guard that, and to go pneumium sphere what you really want to do. Obviously, the highest level is Rutz of Hashem is your rut sign. That's the highest. But for those like myself that are still struggling and trying to figure out, like, I'm not quite there yet, Hashem. Like, I'm not right in line with your rut sign. Right. The main thing is to really guard yourself from external rut signs that are going to seep in and make you sad.
Wait, say again?
The the one of the things you could do is just guard yourself,
Uh-huh.
guard your eyes and guard your ears from creating other
Ah.
excitement in life, that you're going to want things that you don't really have
Mhm.
shaykhs to. Like,
Mhm.
they're going to
Mhm.
enter you and you're going to want to have these things. That's
Yeah.
just, it makes you sad.
Yeah. I think I would simplify it, and maybe it's not simplifying it. Maybe it's a little naive, but it's at least it works for me. It's like just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you have. And like the minute I'm starting to be grateful for where I am, then I stop being in that place of resisting what I don't, where I'm not, or what I don't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the gratitude is
Gratitude,
so, so important.
right?
And a little bit of a, if I could riff on that a little bit, is gratitude is one avoida. There's no doubt about it. If I could break it down to budgeting, for example, I said it works like gratitude, but it's a little bit different. And so we'll have to know the nuance behind this, but gratitude is generally like, Baruch Hashem, I have my feet. Baruch Hashem, I have my arms. I could see. I have children. What I'm saying, if you have children, if I have this, whatever you have in your life, right? There's always something to be grateful for, right? Chosrow always talks about it. There's always something up to your last breath of life. There's something you can be grateful for always. I
Mm-hmm.
got it, right? Um, there's something that I call like the yes budget. What's yes budget? It doesn't necessarily mean it's a gratitude upon yourself, right? But when you go through yes budget, it's like, you know what? My budget, it says yes to a house. My budget says yes to my car. It says yes to the
Mm.
cash. It says yes to my insurance. It's saying, what are you saying yes to in your budget? It's sort of like gratitude, but it's within the confines of budget. It's called creating the yes budget.
Hmm. You just reminded me of a conversation. I don't know if this applies that I just had with someone. His wife needs a sheitel, okay? And the question was like, uh, sheitels are not cheap, right? And I know she needs it, and it's a value of shalom bayit, of family, of beauty, whatever value represents, okay? But he has other expenses. They have to pay tuition. He could use that $5,000 or whatever money it is to put in the retirement account, and he won't, like, right? And but it's a yes. So the question that this person was asking, do I go with the bitachon that God wants me to, give a sheitel to my wife, or with the rational part that knows that we really could use those $5,000 for saving or for a kid's wedding in the future or for whatever. It's a tough one. People go through these. People have to make these decisions.
It is. It's a very difficult decision to
How,
make.
how, how does one answer that one? I can tell you what I told him.
Yeah,
It
I want to
wasn't
hear
my
because
husband, by the way. But I would tell him the same thing.
what was your answer?
My answer was go with the bitachon and get her the sheitel.
It is true, and I think that you have to say, um, also there is a point that you can feel locked up with choices. If you're saying no to too many things all the time, no, 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 then it could lock you. I'll give you an example. I got a call, not from a client, from somebody the other week, and they're in a different state. I'm not going to mention the state they're in, but they sold a business and they did pretty well,
Hmm.
right? But they're nervous. Well, they're nervous because uh, they didn't want to hold on to the money. So why? So you make X amount of dollars selling a business. It's a pretty good amount of money. Should support you for a bit. But why don't you want to hold the money? Because I'm afraid it's going to go away. Why are you afraid it's going to go away for? Well, I think that ultimately I might get sick and might be taken away.
Oh,
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that? Well, I
why?
think that if I get sick and it's get taken away, then it's all going to just disappear. So why do you think you get sick? Well, I don't have health insurance. Why don't you have health insurance? Because my family's like $800 a month, and that's expensive. I understand $800 a month is expensive for health insurance. I get it. It's a lot.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, well, maybe I'll put my parents' name in the money, and I won't get the health insurance. So if you're cluing into what I'm cluing in over here, this is a major blockage over here, right? I can't hold on to money because of life, because of health insurance. What does he get sick? So I asked a question. I said, well, what if you got your health insurance for $800 a month? Would that unlock with inside yourself? Like, what would you be unlocked with? Like, how would that free you? Because she's all locked up from it. She's stuck with it. She made a decision. She made a financial decision. It's too expensive, like the health insurance, right? Which is common, right? I've heard so many times people don't buy the health insurance because they're just scared. It's too much money, and
Mm-hmm.
their kids get sick. They get sick, and they don't go to the doctor unless it's momish emergency. They don't do it. It's momish emergency. Well, that kind of constriction in your life, you're not open for abundance at that point at all.
Right. Right.
You're coming from a point of scarcity.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Because
she clued in. She's like, you're right. You know what? Like I'd be so much more open to things if I wasn't so tightened up.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, because it's all coming, all these decisions are coming from a place of fear,
Exactly.
which
Exactly.
this is where the bitachon piece can help people so much. You can make financial decisions out of love, not of fear.
Yeah, you could also use Jira though. Jira could also come into play, into financial decisions. It's not a this or, it's a this and.
This and
It's a
right,
this
right.
and. It's a Hava and Jira. They both have to come in together. It can't be just
Mhm.
one or the other, But ultimately, when it comes down to Shaitel, the trick is not the numbers. Like, oh, what should we do? Yeah. The trick is to find out like maybe that could be a big stepping towards Bataka, maybe not. Maybe the answer is no. Depends on the person,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know.
Right. It depends on the situation, right? Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes the answer is no because there's a track record of overspending, But in this case, it wasn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now, at what point? So you go through your own personal journey. By the time you get married, your finances are solid,
Baruch
Avram?
Hashem.
Oh,
Baruch
wow.
Hashem. Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
That's
I'm so
crazy. So
so
she
so
got a good
happy.
catch.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, I'm so happy. That was major. And my wife is really a saver.
Oh,
She's much
okay.
more a saver than me, right? My
Uh-huh.
kids are like, "Why are you the financial coach, Tati?" It should be mommy. Mommy's like but I get
Nice.
it, but I'm the one that gets it.
Nice, nice, nice. So then my question was, at what point do you realize you have a business here? At what point do you leave the financial advisory industry formally and say, I have something here. I have something to share with the world. Does it become a side hustle at the beginning? Like, what's the transition to becoming a business owner?
So I was in the financial industry making financial plans, and I kept on seeing the same thing happening, making good money, but not saving enough and having to take extra risk in your portfolio to make up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, like think about it, right? If you're
I've
short
seen that. Mm-hmm.
X amount of dollars, then we have to go more aggressive. Well, that could go the opposite way also, and especially it's a whole thing. But the bottom line is that if you just saved extra 5% of your money a year, you would have to make no risk. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
totally fine. You do
Mm-hmm.
the modeling, right? So like, okay, here we are now, one retired age 65. What do I need to get there? What is a shortfall? There's two options: either save more money or take higher risk with your portfolio, which might work out, might not work out. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept on seeing this over and over and over again. And I talked to my boss one time. There's one couple that I really felt connected to. They weren't Jewish. And then I said, I want to coach them on the side because I feel like every time I meet up with them, it's like every quarter, like, okay, where are we? We're not reaching goals. Where are we? Not reaching our goals. Like it's kept on going. They're making excellent money. It was serious money coming in, but serious money going out as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided, you know what? I'm going to have to sit down and work with them. So I worked with them, and eventually, the whole industry got turned over in the big crash,
Oh, wait.
2008. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
'08. So in '08, they had to go through layoffs in the company. I was like round two or three, so they held me as long as possible. They had to let me go. And at that point, I already knew what I wanted to do. I literally took my laptop and I just started working on the business plan right after I got laid off. Like I know exactly what I got to do. I don't know what it's called yet. I call myself a personal financial trainer. I didn't know financial coach was a thing yet, and I just started typing away, start making things, and that's it. And I took that client, started working with them, and then built and built and built, and eventually I built up a practice.
Very, very nice. So then my question, when you were describing, when we're talking a little bit about the budget and you were talking about the funnel, when we're talking about people like yourself and many others that I'm sure you deal with who have variable income, right? It can
Ooh,
get a
yeah,
little bit tricky, right? It's
yeah.
not as simple. Like we wish for everybody it was so simple. Okay, you get $20,000 here, you put this here, and then spend the rest. It's not that simple for many people.
No, no.
So how does it work?
So the math is really about forecasting out the next 12 months at the minimum. So it's sort of figuring out, what's my baseline here.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking last year's numbers is possibly a quick fix for this, but not really because you might have had an awesome. Let's just take somebody does a service-based business, so they have clients, right? And so they look back, they're like, oh yeah, like last year's numbers were rocking,
Right.
but what happened is that half my clients went away. So that's not really applicable going forward. So you have to really come out and think about what does it look like going forward for the next 12 months. That's
Mm-hmm.
step one. Step one is like in a realistic manner, what does your income look like? Now, obviously, we can't predict. I can't predict. You can't predict, right? Anybody who's self-employed can't predict what's going to happen. Even people that receive
Right.
bonuses from work, they can't predict that either, right? Even if you have a good income, coming in steady, right? But
Right.
a lot of people get bonuses. But the trick is that the 12-month spreadsheet should be a living document. It's not something that's just like there for 12 months, you set and forget and take it out for next pay. It's like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Dust it off and like, yeah, that was a good idea. Put it back. Every month that goes by, you have to understand when you have 12 months of a cash flow projection of what you think is going to happen in the next 12 months of your cash flow is a projection, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not what actually happened, but each month that happens, you should have actuals there of what happened every month, an actual that overrides the projected column. So, for example, just to bring it down to everybody understand this, you have 12 months of projections. Let's say it starts January to December to keep it simple. So January is projection, February projection, all the projections. Then February 1st, what you're going to do is you're going to then go back over January and put in all January's actuals. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to say, this is what I thought happened. This is what did happen.
Mm-hmm.
Was I right or wrong? If you're right or wrong, if you're right, then awesome. Keep everything good. It's good. But if you feel like you were off by a little bit, then you have to really look for the next 11 months and say, what's going to change going forward?
Mm-hmm.
And be honest with yourself. So you see that your income trajectory is on target. Beautiful. Keep it there. If it's exceeding, then you might want to keep it there or bump it up a little bit. If you feel that it's lower than expected, that you have to teach them as going forward. And so anybody self-employed has to be nimble on the fixed and semi-fixed expenses, like those things are just like that are fix you in because, and then you can work a lot with the daily spending, which you spend on your day-to-day basis.
Hmm. You talked about that couple, and when you deal with two people, two married people who are coming from two different money story with two different money stories, different money habits. Um, in many cases, you have a couple that's dealing with variable expenses, and the one spouse might be used to the year that things, they could afford certain things, and then they're not aware that the last 3 months or 6 months is not going the same way, and they keep the same speed, the same rate of expenses. How do how do we how do you work with couples? Because changing one is hard enough. Helping two change at the same rate and be on the same pace is even harder. It's exponentially harder. So what's your experience with that?
When I work with couples, I tell people I have three clients, right? And let's assume it's a married couple. So I have a husband, a wife, and I have the marriage. So I
Oh,
have three couples, right? Three
oh.
three clients from two. And ultimately, the number one thing that everybody has to really understand and discover is really where are they coming from? The first thing you got to do, right, is just really decide like understand like where are you coming from, where the pattern's happening, what's going on over here, and understand your spouse from a point of just like I'm just here to listen and to witness you
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
witness what who you are as a person.
And what happens through the process? Let's say a couple is willing to do that and they're willing to change. Do we tell them they need to have money dates every week, every other week? How do we keep them that it's not just a one-time awareness, but that they're holding their each other's hands through the process, even though sometimes it might get ugly, but they're in it together?
Yeah, so let's talk about money dates for a second since you brought it up. So money dates, we'll talk is more of an external tool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'll tell you one thing that I think is a good sort of external tip that helps a lot of people out is that first off, when you have a money date, make sure that you have it timed to, there's an end time to it. It's not going to go on forever. You're
For
in
sure.
it for 20 minutes, whatever
Right.
it's going to be. But what's more important than that is before you get into the money date is to talk to each other and tell the other person what you're looking for.
Mm.
For example, I want to have feedback. I want to have answers. I want to have a listening ear. Let's take those three, right? What happens a lot of times when you're in a money date and you're talking to your partner and they share something, and I'll pick on the guys for a second here. Oh, yeah, I think you should do this. I was looking for feedback.
Mm.
If you tell the person before the money date what I'm looking for, honey, let's talk about money. I'm a poet, just don't know it. Honey, let's talk about money. I'm looking for a listening ear, which means you defined obviously is that, I just want somebody to listen to me. No
Mm-hmm.
feedback. I just need to offload a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm feeling. Okay, so the person knows what to give back to you. But if you don't communicate that to your partner, then you'll never have any clue of what to give them, what
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for. So two quick, very quick ideas about money dates is put a time limit on it, don't make it go forever. And on top of that, given set intention of what you're trying to get from it,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
your spouse.
Yeah, I like that because I always say yes about the timing for sure, and for sure you don't want it to go longer than an hour. But I always say have an agenda, right? But this is taking the agenda to a whole new level. It's not just the agenda of what you want to discuss, but also like what you're looking for in that
Yeah,
discussion, right?
exactly. Which is the emotional component of the whole thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
these things go off track with
Mm-hmm.
emotions, right? Talking
Yeah.
about emotions again.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife would have a rule, by the way. Sorry for interrupting, but my wife would have a rule. It's called the past 10 o'clock rule, which means
Okay.
that if it's past 10 p.m., really, we're not going to talk about kids. Like, I'm not really interested in it. We're not going to do it money. Like, that's all gone, right?
Yeah.
But that actually goes at any time. So my wife would have a past 10 o'clock rule. It could be 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and my wife's like, it's past 10 o'clock, which means I don't have the space for this right now. I'm like, okay, I got it. means there'll be another time.
Right.
So past 10 o'clock is always a great rule. It's the Byers rule in our house of it's past 10 o'clock. But the money dates are times you scheduled in, and this is always game time. It can be for a certain amount of time, but outside the realm of your money date, you want to start talking money. If it's past 10 o'clock, then that's it. Leave it. It's past 10
Mm-hmm.
o'clock. We'll
I
talk. We'll
love
do
it.
money date.
I love it. I love it. I love it. When couples work with you, and I believe you take them through a 1 year process. Are you meeting with people on a weekly basis, or how does it work?
Yeah, so meet up every 2 weeks for the whole year.
Mm.
And then I give 6 power up sessions. So if they need me any other time, they get 6 power up sessions. But the cadence works like this is that I have a homework deadline, right? So I do all my clients do homework. Like they all
Oh,
have homework to do.
okay. What
Every
does
week
that
you get
look like?
homework. It's so widely varied,
Okay.
it could be a discovery of core values, for example. It
Hmm.
could be a prompt around that. It could be doing your money timeline. It could be going through the genealogy of the money tree of your parents and grandparents. It could be doing a spreadsheet. It could be what we can talk about during our it could be having a date with your wife. It could be having a uncomfortable conversation with your boss about getting a raise. This like it could be anything, right? Depends
Okay.
what it is, right? But there's a process. But the basic works like this is that we meet up on a day. That Sunday at 10 p.m. is when the homework's due. 10:01 is late, incomplete, doesn't count. Has to be deep, good work. 10 o'clock it's due. The Monday after you do it, I read all my clients' homework, which I did today. Today's a Monday here when
Hmm.
we're recording. And I go through and I think about it and I reflect this. I see patterns and I send usually another question to think about before we meet the next week. And they usually think about it and they come back to me again. So it's a lot of back and forth on off weeks, and they meet up again the next week after that. So and go
Mm.
through it all. Yeah,
Wow.
that's it.
Wow.
So it's coaching on live. This coaching that's done, via email.
Hmm. And
But
also
it's always yeah.
there's work that they have to do independent of you. So that's
Oh yeah. The whole goal is to be independent of me.
right.
I'm here to unlock you so you can be the best person you can be. Like so there's not a better thing feeling I have as a
They have
client.
to
You
do
know
the
what?
workout. The
Yeah,
trainer shows up, but you have
yeah,
to do the one doing the
like
push-ups, you know?
yeah, like oh yeah, you're awesome, and I'm the one like doing the crunches. Nobody likes crunches, by the way. Crunches are like the worst muscle to work. It like hurts. It's weird hurt. It's like biceps, different.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Now, I'm curious from the financial trainer, what are some habits that you mentioned? You mentioned the money date with your and the no past 10 rule, but what are some habits that you practice, Avram, that help you with your financial life? They could be financial habits or maybe otherwise. Maybe they could be something else, but that you feel helps you with your financial life.
Well, I have this weird thing
Uh-huh.
that if I look at my bank account, it's gonna be worse. You have
If
to
I
understand, look at my
what?
bank account, it's going to be worse. You have to
Uh-huh.
understand, but looking at your bank account, it's not going to make it any worse. It's okay. You have the
Right.
permission to look at your bank account, check things out, and do things like. So I'm always like checking my bank account, not like all the time, but once every 2 days, I'm bank just like, what's going on here? Make sure
Right.
all the transactions are okay. Checking out the
Right.
credit cards, like, is
Same.
anything weird? Right? Just checking it out. I'm not being obsessive over the whole thing. But in the past, I would just ignore it. Be like, oh,
Right.
if I don't see it, like the ostrich, it's just
Hmm.
not really a real thing, but with the ostrich in the sand, like, oh, if I can't see, it's not really bad, No, like it's okay to look at your bank account. It's okay to like check your credit card statement. It's okay to do all these things. Like you should do it. It's really, really healthy to do those kinds of
Mhm.
things. It's not just a simple thing, but ultimately at the end of the day, I'm a big fan of tracking your magic number, which is that book I told you about. Is I wrote is your magic number. It's called. That has to be done every day because the
Every
daily
day?
budget
Oh, every
every
day you have to see
day.
whether you're within your magic number.
Yes,
Okay.
because the bottom line is that if I said to you, I said, "Oh yeah, well, you know what? We're going to make a budget for you, and I can tell you what you can spend, and it's I'll give you to a year, like 1 year. I'm going to tell you a number. You spend $80,000 on yourself. Well, it doesn't make a
Hmm.
difference in the number, but $80,000 you can spend on yourself. Then what happens at the end of the year? See, we're going to get back at the end of the year, and we're going to see if you made it or not. No check-ins. Not allowed to look at anything. We're just going to add up the whole expenses. Yeah, we're going to go all through every one of your line items. At the end of the year, we're going to get through it and we see how you did.
Hmm.
What do you think your chances of success are?
Oh my gosh, mine are zero. Forget about it. Forget about it.
Everybody's a zero. Everybody
Forget
is
about it.
zero chance, right? So, okay, well, you know what? how we did every Chodesh, every month. Once a month, we check and see how you did. It's not, it's going to be,
Mm,
everybody divided by 12.
no, not for me. I'm
No,
with you. I have
no.
to check every day. I check every day. I check my account every day. I know what I'm
Right.
spending.
So,
Right.
yeah, so the idea is, let's say for example, you had $150 a day, that's what you could spend, right? If you check it at the end of the day, you know where you stand, you know what you could do that for tomorrow, and you're done. The whole thing takes 10 minutes max.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Max. It doesn't even it's pen to paper, 10 minutes. Takes no time. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's one of my big three golden rules with your magic number of how to track your daily budget. It's
Mm-hmm.
really, yeah, it's like, don't borrow from tomorrow, right? Don't take from tomorrow's money and bring it over here, right? The second one
Oh,
is
you're
just
not allowed to borrow from tomorrow?
no borrow from
Oh.
tomorrow, only have for today, right? Because the,
Oh.
the second rule is build up equity early. If you start building up equity, it's the opposite, right? Like our great grandparents, right? And some of those grandparents, right? There was no thing as credit cards.
No,
Like
okay, I
you
get that,
you
but
went to
you have
work, you made your
okay.
money, what you had in your pocket is what you could spend.
Uh-huh.
Right? There wasn't like I'm gonna borrow from tomorrow,
Okay,
right?
wait, this is really good. Okay, so wait, so I'm not saying go on the credit card. I'm saying you know your magic number for today. Let's you set $160. So you know every day you have $160. But today I need 280. I can't and tomorrow I can't borrow from tomorrow?
No,
Ooh.
no, I can't borrow from tomorrow. That's rule number one. Don't borrow from tomorrow. The real trick is that you have to build up equity early. It's a mindset of thinking about the future, not
Mm-hmm.
about being like responsive to your financial situation. It's about being
Mm-hmm.
proactive.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, what does it mean to be, the king or queen of your financial household? It's
Right,
definitely
but
not, it's
right.
definitely being proactive.
Right, right. Ooh, I like that. The king and queen of financial household. I really like that. Okay, okay. So you're saying this is not restrictive. I mean, it doesn't
No,
feel restrictive for people,
no, it's the opposite.
even though they're not borrowing. Like she's not going to overextend. Let's say she or he, they're not going to overextend themselves. So it's 2 days a month that they had to take from tomorrow, but they're not taking. They're it doesn't continue to become a pattern. You're saying there's too high a risk for it to become a pattern.
I'm just saying the derech is that you should be saving up a lot of money. I have clients that have like $1,000, $2,000 in their daily number
Mm-hmm.
because they're prepared, and what's that number that you have, what's the float that you have to have inside your daily budget that's going to help you handle everything. I'm not thinking about
Mm-hmm.
things that break. Things that break is a separate line item that's not part of this.
Mm-hmm.
The roof goes. Okay, that's $20,000. That's not going to be thinking of this. But your daily amount, the things that you have to have, that you're going to spend, you're
Got
going
it.
to be proactive because that's what
Got it.
had to happen. And yeah, you can build up equity early. That's the whole trick is to build up equity early because you build up equity early, you're not going to have to borrow from tomorrow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And again,
And
we're talking about,
yeah.
you said build up equity, but we've already taken care of the savings and the investing. This is just cash that you have left over to spend.
Building equity within your daily amount. So
Oh.
if you had 150 today and tomorrow you have 150 because Avram is going to fly over and drop off the 150 to you. If you only spend $50 today, that means tomorrow you got 250
Mm-hmm.
and you
Are you
spend
allowed to spend it 250 or you
you could
have to,
spend whatever you want.
if
You
you
can spend
have
whatever you want.
leftover, you can spend it the next
You could
day.
spend the whole thing, but you're going to put yourself in position of borrowing from tomorrow, which you'll have to say no to a lot of stuff the next day.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
So it's
I
about
love it.
training yourself on a daily basis of how to handle your money. One of the issues, Yal, is that we've lost our feeling for money.
If what?
We lost our feeling for money.
Yeah,
We don't feel money anymore.
right.
It used to be in a tap of a card. Now it's a swipe of your phone, right? It's really we've lost a feel for what does it mean $1,000.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
We
Yeah,
have no we don't feel it anymore. And I'm from the generation that had cash.
right.
I'm also nodding my head like I don't know what it feels like. $1,000 feels like nothing to me,
Mm-hmm,
but it's
mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you try to get people off of the credit cards? Because it's so harm.
Never,
Never. You don't try to
never.
get them really?
No.
Even though they got so used
Extreme,
to, even though they
extreme
got so used to
circumstances.
overspending by having that ability.
I'm not saying the credit card is a good thing, but
Uh-huh.
today's society needs to have some sort of credit card in it. It's hard to like try to book a flight without a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. Try to live like I don't take people off the credit card.
Hmm.
I try people to live normally,
Right.
which is with a credit card,
Right. Right.
you know.
I often say for these things, use the credit card. That's it. You can only use it for flights. You can only use it for the rest. You need to use your debit card. Like that's it. Like you need to like use the money that you have. That's you're not allowed to take from anywhere else.
Yeah, if you have a for example, if you have a daily number that you're sticking to, and that's what you're doing, then there's no reason to not have your credit card. It's
Hmm.
convenient, builds points. I'm okay with it. I get the setup. The setup is we'll give you the points and we'll charge you a lot of money if you don't pay
Right.
us. I,
Right.
I understand the setup. It's a sneaky thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's just so much more convenient, and easy. Not think of like, oh, what's the balance of my credit card today? But if you know your magic number and your magic number is you have $200 in there, okay, I don't really care. I'll
Okay.
swipe my
So
card.
you're
It's
saying
fine.
as long as you're so clear with on your magic number, even if you swipe the credit card, you should not go over that. Not
Yeah, you'll be
not even a
fine.
penny.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And let's say, for example, right, and you and I both know that one of the biggest awakenings for a lot of people is when they start seeing their cash flow at 12 months out, that not every month is like the same. There's like some crazy months. We have tuition, Yom Tiv,
Yeah.
move. It's like wow, right? So sometimes really when it gets down to like a from person, you the realistic point is that you might have to hit your line of credit up. It's possible. You might have to because I know I'm sounding so like
Yeah, I'm
nastical
like,
guy.
wait, but you just told me I can't even borrow from tomorrow's daily magic number.
Right. So the match number is going to be a consistent number that you can have throughout the
Uh-huh.
year. Every it's going to be
Okay.
exactly the same. We're not saying, oh, now there's your tuition payment's coming this month, so it's going to be less. It's an averaged out number for the whole year to keep you steady and on target. But there's be some months that are like really negative and some months that are really positive, and they
Mm-hmm.
balance self out from each other. I am not a zero budgeting kind of person. I'm the opposite. I don't believe for my clientele, anyways, it works well for them. Zero budget basically is I don't have the money, I'm not going to spend it, in my
Mm-hmm.
account. So I'm okay with dipping into line of credit possibly for a month and then paying off next month. So you pay $60 in interest, $80 in interest, whatever it is you're going to
Mm-hmm.
pay.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, you'll take it off as an expense right off your top line. But I'm okay with it. But the main thing is that is
But it's
that
going to
is
affect your magic number because if now I have to pay that debt, then my magic
right.
number is going to be reduced automatically.
Yeah, yeah. So you can take it off. You could write it down as an expense, eight
Uh-huh.
dollars. Line of credit interest.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Oh my gosh, there's so much here. It's not easy, people. I guess it's not easy.
No, it is. It's not hard. This is okay. So I presented it wrong then. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's really simple. The simple answer is that there's external systems, money dates, cash flow, budgeting systems like your magic number, right? All those kinds of things are external, right?
Hmm.
That's all
Hmm.
there. But the main work is panini. That's the main thing, is to
Hmm.
figure out your money story and your spouse understanding your money story, understanding each other, and sometimes understanding yourself and money for the first time ever.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did how did your parents' bankruptcy when you're 8 years old affect you? How is it that the trauma of moving from Eretz Israel to America and affect you, or the opposite? In
Hmm.
America, you had a lot, and you moved to Eretz Israel, and your father's business failed, and you had nothing, different
Hmm.
language, no money. How did that affect you? You were the queen of your class, or the king of your class, and then you went to the bottom rank and you had no money anymore.
Hmm.
How'd that affect your whole story? And
Yeah.
what patterning is now is following that story that you have that you keep on going back and forth in.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Right? Those are the main things. All the other stuff we talked about, the spreadsheets, the magic number, although I wrote the book, those are all gavaldic. They're great, but they're not going to get you. So everybody listening, don't start with the numbers. Leave that for the end. Work on the inner stuff first. It's
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
important.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Avram, I like to finish off all my interviews with what I call Jewish Money Matters fill in the blanks. This is the part of the show where I'll give you an open-ended statement and you finish it with the first thing that comes to mind. Your game?
Go. Let's go.
Okay. When I give Meiser or tzedakah, I like to give to.
My shul.
Nice. Are you a Meiser person or a Chumash person? This is not one of the official questions, but I'm curious.
I feel like I'm a Misa person.
Okay. Were you, well, Were you always like that? I'm saying like from the early days of Yiddishkeit, or was it something that came later? Because I know for myself it came later.
I
Like
don't
I don't
know.
feel like anybody really taught me. Like I feel like okay, tzedakah was a thing, but like Meiser, like there's a real way to give. Or did you feel like you were taught that?
I think it's taught that.
Oh, good. Well, I'm
I
very
think it's
glad.
taught that. I think it's
Uh,
taught that.
I'm very glad. You're way ahead than most people, let me tell you. I'd love to make more money because
I can help more people out.
hmm, something I wish I'd learned about money growing up is
It's okay to make mistakes.
nice, nice. By the way, what were some of your big financial mistakes? Did you mention credit card? Was that, yeah, you mentioned all those credit cards. That's the big one?
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest one I did, which is my biggest embarrassment. So if I'm going to tell everybody this around now, that means you have permission to tell anything to anybody else. Somebody signed on a loan when I was a young teenager, and I defaulted on it, and they lost all their money.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's a big
Okay.
busha, right? And Baruch Hashem, I paid them back over the years, but it took me a long time, and I was so bad with money that nobody's worse at money than me.
That's
I
so
was the
interesting.
worst. I was so bad with money.
And it's so ironic because then you went to work at 17 in the financial industry, probably to
You don't
overcome.
think you don't think this was happening at the same time?
Oh, it was happening at the same time. This happened when you were on 17?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's probably like 18, 19.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you see,
And
guys?
and and on top of that, can I tell you another thing that makes it even worse? So
Hmm.
I'll give my laundry here, yeah, Al. So here's my laundry. So basically that loan I defaulted on was given to me as money that I was going to invest in the stock market.
No.
And what I do with the money?
I almost don't want to know. What did you do with the money?
I bought a motorcycle.
Oh, a
And the
motorcycle.
motorcycle didn't work very well.
What?
It was used and it was like a lemon.
You got ripped off?
Yeah, I deserved it.
Oh gosh.
But you
Oh,
have to own it. You have to own it. You have to own it, be comfortable with it. You have to own it, be comfortable with it. These are deep-seated things I'm sharing to the world now, but I'm just
wow.
giving you permission to own your financial mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
probably not as bad as mine. But at the end of the day, you can become a financial balchuva. It's okay.
I like that. Yes. Money, spiritual or physical or both?
Yeah, like if you met my friends from when I was a teenager, even maybe early 20s, that period of time, and you were to see who I am now, like above Chassid, like you'd be like this. Like I did not, me in the bar, hanging with the guys, drinking beers and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? That part of me, I did not look like a good candidate to join Klal Yisrael at all. But you can change. That's the bottom line is you can totally change yourself from the inside out and become a completely different person. You become ehrlich and you could, regain sensitivities. There's just like there's the senses that you regain, like you lose. Anybody who's been through the journey that wasn't born from and stayed on the path and anybody's deviated any whatsoever knows that there's sensitivities as a child and later on in life you lost. But
Hmm.
anybody who's come back or came to the fold that was serious about it knows that you could regain sensitivities around it.
100%.
And the exact same thing as your finances. The finance is no different. Even though you made financial blunders and you're a little bit rough around money and you're really not good at all, you could regain financial sensitivities and become an ehrlich person with finances with your money.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I think I'm gonna leave it there because that was such a powerful message. Avraham Byers, thank you so much. Where can people reach out to you and connect with you?
There's only one place on my website, which is avrahambuyers.com. Just Google Avraham Byers. I'll come up. Byers, no U in there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I'm sorry. I felt like I was doomed for money with my last name because I should be called a sellers. Buyers means I buy stuff all the time. See what's happening over here?
And now you're a saver, right? I didn't
No,
ask you that,
yeah,
but
yeah. Avram Savers.
he'll save you money, people. Avram Byers will save you money. Thank you, Avram, for this wonderful conversation.
Thank
Continued
you.
success.